I know, believe me, I know how overwhelming it can be. I had a full-on existential crisis when I first opened up Maya in college and realized what I'd gotten myself into. I wasn't crying, it was just raining on my face. But once you take a few deep breaths and get yourself familiar with it, it's really not that bad. First, let's take a look at setting up your project folder. This is important, and you should do it as soon as you open your scene. You're going to create a directory structure of the folders that are associated with your scene. So you'll have your assets, autosave, render data, images, etc. that all relate to this specific project. It's really important to keep your shit organized and in the right place, or you will be cursing yourself further down the line. It's also nice for if you're working with other team members who might need to use your files, or like if you send your stuff to a render farm, or even if you need to move your project's location somewhere else. It maintains the file structure so everything stays linked and it's easy to find all your stuff. Yeah, boy! So you always need to create a project or set an existing project. To create a project, we're going to go to File, then Project Window, here under this project heading. Here where it says Current Project, you can just click on New, under the assumption that you are busy setting up a new project, and then pick the location and folder you want it to be in, and then you just say Accept. This sets you up with all these folders you'll need for your project in one folder. Everything stays nicely organized, links to external files don't get broken because you're using that directory. So you can find all your stuff relevant to your project in one place. And if you need to send somebody else the project or you need to transfer it to a hard drive or whatever, everything stays in order in the main project folder. Even here, if I go to Save As, you can see it's going to save right where it needs to be in the project folder. If you have something that needs to be set to an existing project, so you've already got your project set up, say you worked on a scene already and now you need to work on a new scene, you need to set the project because Maya defaults to the project directory it was last connected to, and it needs to know where it's saving to and where all the stuff it's looking for is. So you go to File and then Set Project and find the project you need to set it to so that it uses the correct project directory. Next, autosave is your best friend. I'm sure you know this already if you've ever done anything on a computer, but heaven forbid you do forget to set up autosave and now you've lost all your work because Maya crashed and you spent hours working on this thing that now you have nothing to show for, all because you forgot to set up autosave. So to prevent that cataclysmic event, just go over to Windows, Settings, Preferences, and then over here on the left we scroll down to Files and Projects, and over here we can enable autosave. And you've also got these nifty options here for if you want a prompt before it saves, if you want to limit autosaves because the struggle for hard drive space is real. So I do suggest using this. And you can also adjust the interval for how often it autosaves and where you want it to save to. I like it in the project, keeping it in one place. Oh, and you should also use incremental save. It's over here when you go to save your scene if you click on the option box. When you turn this on, a backup folder with the same name as the file is created in the scenes and incremental save folder, and a backup of the file is also made. Every time you save, another backup file is created and they're incremental, which means that they get a number like filename.001, filename.002, etc. So the previous backup file doesn't get overwritten. You should definitely set a limit to these though, otherwise your hard drive will get chowed up by all the saved files. Now the next tip is a quick one, but it's super useful, especially for beginners who need to use a specific tool but don't know where to find it. We all know there are a lot of tools in Maya and you can't know where to find every single one, so a very convenient shortcut to the search bar to find any tool or command your little heart desires is Control F. Nifty, right? Oh, you can also use the magnifying glass here, but shortcuts are always better to use. It makes your workflow quicker. If you're an ultimate noob, you might find yourself having huge or tiny manipulators. It happens to the best of us. We know that usually size doesn't matter, but in this case, I'm sorry to say that it does. But all you need to do here is literally just press plus or minus on your keyboard. You're welcome. If you're modeling or animating something and you want to focus on a specific area, but you're struggling to navigate the camera there the way you want it, just select something from that area. So here I select this controller. I want to get up close to her fingers, and pressing F focuses the camera on that selected part. If you're modeling, just select a vertex or a face or an edge and press F. Nice! So now I'm going to show you guys how to make a shelf button for a script. Super useful stuff. If you're working with a rig and you want to be able to select certain controls at the same time for whatever reason, like if you're working on lip syncing and you want to be able to set all the keys for the mouth at once, or if you're working on a hand, you don't want to have to select every single finger joint every time you want to set keys. That's kind of a drag and a waste of time, and you run the risk of missing some. You can create a button that'll sit up here on your shelf that will select all those controls for you whenever you press it. What you want to do is go down here to the bottom right to the script editor and open it up. You'll see whenever I select something here, it shows up here in this history box. So we're going to go up here to this icon that says clear all, and it's going to clear our 2 boxes here so we can start from a clean slate. If you have another script you want to use, you can have it in here, but for this particular instance, we're going to work with the history of what we're selecting and create a script from that. Don't worry, it's crazy simple. So now we're going to select the controls that we want to be included here when we press this button. There you go. You can see them showing up here as I select them. Then just select all this text here and drag it to the shelf you want it on. It asks if you want to save it as Mel or Python, and this is a Mel script, so you click on Mel, and it saves the button to the shelf for you. You can right-click on it to edit it as well in this Command tab. Over here you can change what shelf it's on or give it a name over here so you know which button is which. Very cool, very useful. Okay, next tip, very vital, please listen closely. Reference your rig into your file. Do not import it directly. That way, if something in the rig is changed or updated, those changes will reflect across all the rigs that you've referenced into your files. If you've imported them directly, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to go and do that change individually to each one. Referencing the rig in also protects you from accidentally deleting something or messing up your rig while you're working with it. It also helps the file not slow down if you have a few characters in your scene, because you're not really bringing the rig into the scene, you're pointing it to the file where it is. You're creating a link to it instead of bringing it in directly. Just reference your rigs in. You do this by going to the File tab, then Create Reference. Look for the file you want to reference, select it, then click Reference. Easy. The rig is now referenced and you can animate with it, just as you would with an imported rig, but at least now you'll have less to worry about. Next, delete the history of a model when you're ready to move on to the next step. So if you're modeling an object, whether it's a prop for a game or a character that'll need to be rigged or whatever, you need to get into the habit of deleting its construction history. While the history can be useful if you need to go back and make changes, like over here I've got the history of what I've done to this model, just to show you guys how it works. If I click on one of these modifications I've made, I can still edit it. So that's where having the history can be useful. But it can start to slow Maya down or cause crashes and also give you strange results with deformers or skeletons if you're going to rig the model. A lot of the time when you're having issues with a model, your first port of call should be to delete the history and see if that was causing the problem, because it very often is the problem. To delete the history, you can either go up here to this poly modeling shelf and click on this button that's got like a clock and those lines with an X, or you can use the shortcut Alt-Shift-D. Now, if you're working with a model that's already skinned or has deformers on it, you don't want to delete all history. You only want to delete the non-deformer history or your stuff will go whack and stop working. To delete non-deformer history, go up to Edit, Delete by Type, and then Non-Deformer History. But you really should just make sure that your model is clean before you rig it by deleting all the history right before you rig. Okay, now this is something that'll come in useful to a lot of you. I mean, all the tips I've given you so far should have. And that's batch renaming. Hopefully you do already know that you should be naming your shit. It's going to get super confusing if you have all these objects in your scene and they're not named. You are not going to have a good time. Sometimes you'll have a bunch of the same object, like we have here, and instead of going and individually renaming each one, or trying to select them and rename them like this, you just need to select them, you got that step right at least, and then go over here to the input line menu of operations. Left click on it and then change it to rename. Put in your desired name here and you see it renames and numbers them. Awesome. Last tip is that you can have 2 outliners open at once. You might be asking yourself, why on earth would I need 2 outliners open, pray tell? Well, sometimes you have a crap ton of stuff in your scene and you have to keep scrolling up and down the outliner to drag stuff around or whatever. You can actually just open up another one here and life is instantly much more pleasant. That's it. Some tips that'll make your life using Maya much easier. Let me know in the comments if there's something else you'd add as a good tip from a Maya noob. Let's all help each other here, guys. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon. You guys are the real ones. Seriously, hit like on the video if you did like it, and as a nice free way of saying thanks to me for making this video for you, for free. And subscribe if you feel up to that level of commitment. Okay, thanks, bye!